And that's what I think the shame of what's happening in this country right now is that we look at this year, and both sides are guilty of it. I'm not going to just blame Trump or the Republicans, or I'm blaming everybody. Is that we're so caught up into politics, almost like it's a football game, right?
Exactly. It's like we can't lose. We have to win, even if our judgment or our theory is just terrible and will cost all these lives. Doesn't matter. We got to win. Like,
so now this is a deal. So like, and I can't wait for our guest in 2 weeks. His name's Eric Shapiro. He's kind of a big social media influencer. He has a little account called Left of the Dial, and he's going to be on here, and he's a progressive, and we're having a really awesome debate. We're going to have him on the air. We're actually going to talk about being a progressive and explore it, and real excited. But one of the things we were kind of just talking about was how we need to have more of a civil dialogue, and how nice it was to talk with a progressive and me being more centrist and be able to have an actual discussion about an issue without descending into negativity. But where this country has become, they had a study that came out, and it was like 82% of Democrats feel as though Republicans are bigots and racist, and 86% of Republicans feel as though feel the Democrats are socialist communists. And why that is such a big thing is because we've dehumanized the other side like they're enemies, they're bad people. So when bad things happen to them, it's not bad. It's just like, oh my God, the poor, drug dealer got
karma.
Yeah, it's like they're bad people. And so it's like this whole dehumanizing and this whole I'm the enemy or they're the enemy, and it's war. And that's the thing that is scary. And that's where I think it's a perfect kind of segue into what we're going to end off with tonight, is because, one of the things I've been calling for a lot on the show is for Trump to go, okay, man, you got elected, but you don't have to do what you do to get your bills passed. It's like if you separate Trump, and his policies, but his modality and methods to get his policies enacted. The big thing I've made on the show is that I'm not arguing with Trump's policies. I go agree with some of his policies. I disagree with his rhetoric and the modality he uses because I feel like it tears the country apart. It's not necessary, right? And so a perfect example is on Christmas Day. I'm calling for a guy. All you have to do is tomorrow come out and go, listen, we're all guilty of this, but it's going to stop from here on out. I'm not going to do this, right? So it comes out on Christmas Day, makes a tweet about, hey, we need more understanding. We need to listen to each other a little more. And then sure as shit, like literally, like it was like 5 minutes later, his campaign, courtesy of his son, released snowflakevictory.com. And it's basically how to beat all the your liberal snowflake relatives, and beat them in an argument. And it's like, I mean, you can't make this shit up, right? And so it's like, even over Christmas, it's like, how can you talk in one place going, we need to listen to each other more, and then your son and your campaign now just released not only calling liberal snowflakes, which I don't know about you, but I don't think a lot of liberals would like that, and then two, how are you going to beat them? And it's like, it's fucked up. So that's when I was like, you know what? Fuck this. All right. I'm calling it the Snowflake Challenge. Yep. All right. So we're all family here, literally family. You're my brother from another mother. All right. So we are family. So let's do the Snowflake Challenge. Let's take the points that they argued on there and let's actually have a discourse about it. Okay. What do you guys think?
Sounds good to
me. All
me.
right. So now I gave everyone the assignment ahead of time to do some research. Now the whole thing, and now this is partially Bill's idea. One of the things we talked about last week was, we do talk a lot about a lot of these issues, but I think what we need to do is almost really not argue about what we believe, but more about, hey, this is what I believe and why I believe it. And I was like, I think there's something to that. And then right on cue, we had a perfect example to tee up this little segment that we want to start introducing into the show of what is the right way of talking about the issues, and it being more about what I believe, why I believe it, and what I base that belief on. Evidence, data, statistics, anecdotal evidence, whatever. And it's like modeling to people, this is how we're going to talk about these things. So basically the rules are, I'm going to read basically what the argument points are, and then we're basically just going to go, and we'll switch it up a little bit, but we're just going to choose the big ones. I'm not going to do every single one of them. I'm going to choose some of the big ones, and I just wanted to focus in on, do you agree or disagree with that, and more based on, okay, this is why I believe that or why I disagree with it, and this is what I base that on, okay? So, all right, I'll start with the first one, all right? And so the first one that he led off with, and this is the biggest argument, is how good the Trump economy is. So, according to the website, It says, we are enjoying the hottest and strongest economy this country has seen in 50 years, and this is due to President Trump's common sense job creation. Here are some points you can highlight for your liberal friends and family, and it's all backed up by facts, not feelings. The U.S. has added more than 7 million new jobs since President Trump was elected. This includes 500,000 new manufacturing jobs and nearly 4 million jobs for women. And monthly jobs report are showing that the Trump economy is still soaring. The unemployment rate continues to be historically low, recently ticking down to 3.5%. That's a 50-year low. The Trump economy is boosting every community. The unemployment rates for women, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, and veterans are also at historically low levels. It's not just jobs, it's bigger paychecks. American workers are also seeing higher wages thanks to the Trump economy. Our friends and neighbors from all backgrounds are enjoying the healthiest, strongest, and most uplifting economy that we have seen in decades. And by re-electing President Trump, it will continue to grow for years to come. President Trump overcame years of anemic economic growth we experienced under the Obama-Biden administration and won't go back. We can't go back. The Democratic socialist policies are contrary to the American way of life. So don't forget to tout these key facts about the strong Trump economy when talking to your friends about the upcoming election and join us in re-electing President Trump. All right. So that was the argument that was kind of make. Bill, I want to start with you. All right. So when you hear all this, is this something when you hear that you go, I agree with all that? Is that jive with what you're seeing, what you're feeling? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I do. Yes and no. I mean, a lot of this stuff is going to be, some of it's because of Trump and some of it isn't. I mean, it's, I think pretty much everything on here is going to be, but when it comes to the economy, yes, all those facts are true. We are at a 50-year unemployment low. African Americans are at an all-time unemployment low. I mean, it's a good time for employment in general. Now, the wages, that can be debated. I understand that. I do think that this was something that the economy was coming back, towards the end of Obama. I mean, it was on its way up after it had been, dropped to the worst that we had since the Great Depression at the end of the George W. Bush era.
Right.
That's a whole other show for another time on who we could blame there, but I think that Trump has helped by, typically when Republicans come into office when it comes to economics, as you guys may or may not agree with, they tend to loosen the regulations sometimes, which can be good because you've loosened the regulations, you allow it to kind of maybe grow. The thing, it's almost like this. It's almost like a plant or something, or like a live thing where like, okay, we're going to stop trimming it, we're going to let it grow. But if you let it grow too much, the tree's going to snap and tip over, where the Democrats are kind of the ones that kind of trim it. But you worry that some Republicans would say they trim it too much. I know that kind of sounds weird, but it's like this living thing, and you don't want to let it get too big because it's like Frankenstein's monster that will overtake you. And I don't know, but it's.
Are we talking about Trump or the economy? I don't know. It's kind of.
I don't know where I was going with that. I was going with the economy.
I was sitting there going like, "Damn, I need to call our tree trimmer."
I'm talking about regulation.
I thought you were trying to give me some tip,
So I think it's good that Trump has deregulated some things. We just don't want too much deregulation, and maybe you don't want it for too long. Again, that's up for debate, but so I think he has helped, at least short term. I don't know how it's going to be long term. That only time will tell.
So if I'm hearing you right, I mean, it's like you kind of agree. It's like, yeah, the economy is going really well, but it also sounds like, all right, some of this is hyperbole. I mean, some of it you have to look at how bad was it really under Obama, and it's like, the story, it needs to keep playing out. He's only been president for a couple of years, but it's like you agree with it. Maybe some of it hyperbole, and more of a kind of a wait and see. Let's see how it continues growing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think, but overall, I would say, Trump's the head coach, as I always say, and the team, when it comes to the economy, is doing well. So yeah,
All right. Okay. Jill, what do you think?
I think, like as you said, most of the economic flow of it improving was happening under Obama, and he came into it at a pretty good spot. And I think he's maintaining, which is a good thing for the most part.
Yeah.
But I think he's taking all the credit.
I was going to say,
he's taking all the credit.
So divisive. Why can't we just
cleaned everything up?
Why can't we agree that Obama brought it here, Trump brought it here because Obama got it there, and maybe the next president can take it higher? I don't know.
I don't think Trump has ever given Obama credit. If anything, Trump has never given Obama credit for anything. No. If anything, he's attributed bad things to him that were really under Bush. Because I mean, once again, I look at the facts, right?
According to Trump, Obama's not even from this country. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Yeah, I never said that. No, yes, you did. You're the one that started the birther movement. No, I didn't. Like,
that wasn't me.
but yeah, so it's like, basically, it's kind of like, well, I agree the economy is doing well, but you got to give Obama some credit. It wasn't just all you.
Even giving any Obama credit. It's more just, why don't you just state that I've continued to improve the economy. Our numbers are still going in the right direction.
Trump talks about what he inherited, but I mean, look what Obama inherited when it comes to the economy.
No kidding.
I mean, you don't get much worse than that unless you're going back to 29.
Now, luckily, I actually pulled the numbers. So in 2010, you know what the unemployment rate was?
Not offhand, I don't.
10%. You know what it was in 2018 when he left office? 4.4%. You know what it was? So when Trump started, it was 4.4%. You know what it is right now?
3.5.
Actually, 3.7. So you got to look at Obama actually lowered it almost a full 6 points, and over his entire year, Trump has only moved it 0.5.
But he's giving himself 0.2% more there.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna say what it is.
Well, it's a 50-year low, mostly because of what Obama did.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, how do you not give? Obama literally took it from over 10% in negative GDP, and literally turned it around, lowered it from 10% to 4.4. Not to mention also dealing with the biggest financial fuck up that Republicans caused, and yet he can't give any love to Obama. I totally agree with the Trump economy. I do think the Trump economy is good. The one big thing I nailed Trump on was that, yes, the wealthy are pulling the aggregate. They're like outliers. They're pulling the overall numbers. But the recent economic data actually showed, I believe, now I'm going to get my numbers. I wrote it down wrong, but if I'm recalling off my head. So working class wages grew at 4.8%. And the wealthy only grew at 2.4. So the very first time in a long time, the working class actually had a higher growth rate with salary than the wealthy. So I do agree with Trump, but it creates more division, and it creates like an angle of like he's patting himself on the back, not giving Obama any credit, which to me is un-American. It's like, when you're president, you're president. You're not Democrat, Republican. You need to be able to give the previous guy credit, because all it does is just sow this thing of discord, and it's like, we know you don't like Obama, but give the guy some credit, right? Mm-hmm. So that was one big thing. But now this is one that does bother me, though. Okay,
has any president though ever given the previous president credit? Does that happen? Especially around election time.
Yeah, I see what you say. I mean, maybe like a backhanded compliment or something, but
yeah, I don't really think anybody's come out and said, "Well, thanks."
Yeah, it's more past presidents.
Look how good we're still doing, you know?
Yeah, like you know.
But I think to tell a misnomer like this, to basically, it's like we were fucked with under Obama. It's like Obama actually has lowered unemployment like I don't even know what was that, 400% more than you have. Yeah. I'm just saying. I mean, like,
I was never mad at Obama's economic policies. I was mad at some of his international policies. Mm-hmm. Kind of pissed me off towards the end. Yeah, we talked about that.
So this is the other thing I didn't like about the economy. Median income was like, so, you know, and I'm going to go on to the next page. We're talking about the tax cuts. So it says median income in 2018 was $63,179. You know how much it is now, 2 years later? $63,000 and like $232. So this economy. So the thing is, this economy is booming, but why is median income exactly the same?
Because rich people are dicks. They don't want to give anyone a raise.
That's the problem. The bottom 51% have lost money. And the thing is, so think about it. How much money has the lower 51% lost to offset all the gains of the upper 2%? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's once again, it's telling you can. That's the whole thing of like, if you're only trying to tell the record of how good you are, it'd be going, hey, I batted 310 last year. But I hit no home runs and I struck out 142 times. Well, that tells a mixed bag, right? Well, I hit. No, we're only going to look at a hit 313. It's like, but you only had 5 at bats, you know, and you struck out 142 times.
I think that kind of dips into like the problem we have in general is where the middle class is just shrinking. It doesn't matter who's in charge.
It is a huge
it doesn't matter who's in charge. It doesn't matter who Republican or Democrat, or just the middle class is shrinking, and it's like that's going to be the problem, I think. And I know we have other issues going on in this country, but I think. Global warming, I hear that a lot. I hear, which is all correct and worrisome stuff. But I do think that if it keeps going, you're going to have the well-to-do and you're going to have the not well-to-do, and it's going to be.
It's already like
who's
that.
Talking about that?
Well, you already
and really just in the last 4 years or more. I mean, that is when it is really gotten worse and worse.
Yeah.
And the housing economy. I mean, people can't afford anything.
So I'm going to skip the healthcare one. I'll skip ahead to that one because that's a really good. Yeah. So now so one of the things you brought up an awesome point of when you look at healthcare in this country, right? And we already are starting to see tiered healthcare where there's two healthcare. There's the healthcare for the wealthy, the ones that are getting the clinical trials, the expensive medications because either their insurance covers it, they have these Cadillac plans that pretty much only CEOs can really have, or they're just paying for the shit out of pocket. In the mental health industry, it's gotten to the point where if you have a mental health problem, not substance abuse, unless you have about $45,000 a month, there's no long-term care. There are no long-term cares really covered under insurance. Even substance abuse cares for shit. But if you're wealthy, you can get all the best care, right? Yeah. So we're already seeing this tiered healthcare. And so now one of the things on here, this is the one that I think pissed me off the most, or one of the ones that pissed me off the most. The environment one is also what pissed me off. So what he said on healthcare, Democrats like to squawk a lot about President Trump, Republicans, and healthcare. But the truth is the 2020 Democrats are the ones who want to strip you of your private employer-provided health insurance. Remind your relative that Democrats' proposed government takeover of the healthcare plan would take away health insurance plans of 180 million Americans, and more than 20 million seniors would lose Medicare Advantage. Elizabeth Warren's plan alone would cost taxpayers $52 trillion, undoubtedly raising taxes on the middle class to pay for it. Some of your relatives might say, well, I support Joe Biden and Mayor Pete's public option alternatives, but don't let these proposals fool you. Their plans are designed to kill employer-provided health care plans, too. If you offer a governmental plan, some people will take it, and that will leave fewer people in the employer-provided plan, which will cause rates to rise, which will drive more people in the government plan, which will raise rates in the employer plans. Ask your relative if they like going to the DMV. Now tell them to imagine a government controlling their healthcare system, because that's exactly what it would be like. A government takeover of healthcare means longer wait times, worse quality of care, higher cost, and a downward spiral where healthcare is beholden to a government bureaucrat in Washington, D.C. In contrast, President Trump is expanding healthcare access and bringing down cost. So, Jill, I'll have you start on this one. What are your thoughts on that argument?
I mean, I just now reading this, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like I don't even know what to say. I just don't.
This is where this one's fucked. Okay. All right. So, number one. All right. So the whole thing about Trump, he's bringing down prices. No, he hasn't brought down any. He hasn't passed anything.
How? And when has he?
He hasn't done anything
about when he's going to be expanding healthcare and bringing down costs.
There's a bill that just passed Congress now to allow Congress to negotiate directly with pharmaceutical companies to bring down costs, exactly like they do with Medicare. Republicans have already said it's DOA. We're not voting on it.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. All right. You know why? Because the pharmaceutical company said, they're holding the imaginary gun to the American public. If you do this, 10 less drugs are coming to market, and you guys are going to die. Yeah. So congratulations.
Well, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because
it's true.
If you let the private companies run things, they're going to price gouge you. They're going to do it.
They already
are.
Right. If you let the government run the shit, it's the government. It's not that I don't think it's that a lot of people don't want universal health care. It's that we don't want universal health care ran by our government. Like that, I have no faith in the world.
So now this is the thing is like the only people saying that about, Elizabeth Warren, all right, I don't like her plan at all, right? But the only people doing this whole debate about government or whatever are these far left, far right Republicans.
Exactly.
If you go to England has the perfect plan. Everyone loves know what their plan is?
The problem is we're not England, though. I hear what you're saying. It just won't fly here for whatever reason.
But it already does fly, though. That's Medicare.
But look at England. They don't do things the way. I mean, I know what you're saying.
But why though?
Oh, I don't know why.
So how do you know that's true? How do you know that comment is true?
Well, look at England.
So what do you base it on?
We're different. We're different cultures. Like you said, people are too very bullheaded. They just, you know what? I don't want the government intrusion in my life.
But the government is not controlling their health care.
Well,
but this is what I want the show to be about. So explain to me your understanding of the English system, and then why that will not work in the United States.
You pay, I think it's like 200 pounds out of your check, and you get all the tea you can drink. That's about all I know about the English healthcare plan.
So in other words, you don't really know how the English system works.
I have no idea.
So this is a problem when you're so this is not your fault. Everyone is so programmed for an argument, right? Where then it's kind of like, what do you know about? I don't know anything about it. So it's like, how do I know something won't work if I don't even know how it works? So I'm going to explain to you how it works. All right. So how it works in England is that there is basic level preventative care that is covered under your insurance. Not insurance. It's just you're covered, right? You don't pay for any of your pharmacy, your medications. There's no co-pays, no ER, your doctor, everything is free, right? Now, for the people who have money and they want better care, they go out and buy a supplemental health care plan that allows them to have all the Cadillac. They can get in faster. They can do whatever they want. It's a setup exactly like Medicare. Now, what makes their system work is that they actually negotiate the prices with pharmaceutical companies, device manufacturers. Doctors don't make $1 million a year over there. And so the thing is, their health care is they like it over there. I've had my friends who live here live over there and don't understand why we don't have it set up the same way. The only reason to not have it set up that way, doctors can't make millions of dollars. Pharmaceutical companies can charge whatever it is that they want. It works great. And so it's not, the only part that's government run is nothing. They just control the pricing. The doctors still run, they make all their own decisions. They don't ration healthcare out. And if you want more money and you want to get in next week for it, you pay for an extra supplemental plan. You're rich enough to afford it. Why would you like that? Would you like going to the ER and not have a copay? Would you like it to where if Jackie working for a hospital could pay an extra $20 a month, maybe $50 a month for your family to get the Cadillac plan versus what you guys pay now?
I don't think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I know, like I hear horror stories of other government, like for example, Canada.
Yeah.
Canada's got, free health care for all, right?
Yeah.
It's run by the government, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Do they offer supplemental health insurance too? I'm not
Theirs
sure.
is more your traditional socialized health care.
Because what I've heard about Canada, and someone was talking about it, they were from Canada, saying is that, since everyone goes there now, it's free, that your wait times in the hospitals and specifically the ER is just, it's already long now, unless you're absolutely dying. But it's hours and hours and hours. And
so now here's the thing, though.
Well, so what Canada did to try to, get everyone to go faster is they actually passed a law, because that's what they're doing is everyone knows that people in the hospitals are just taking their sweet time to get to you, right? So they actually passed a law saying that if you walked into an ER in Canada and you were not seen within, I think, 2 hours, that the hospital would get fined, because it was, we're going to move it, So hospitals that are already at capacity, I'm sure, the ERs at least, you say, well, shit, what do you want me to do here? Yeah. It's like you work somewhere and you say, well, make your line move faster. Well, I'm checking them out as quick as I can. Like, I can't. Right. So what they did was, these hospitals have to do now is when someone comes in an ambulance, if you're not dying, they keep you sitting in the ambulance, because that clock doesn't run until you walk through the ER or you get wheeled in through those ER doors. So they have ambulances in Canada of people that they don't believe are immediately dying, just sitting there with people in these ambulances, because they can't take them inside, because that's when it starts running, and they'll be fined if they. I'm like, that's so the government.
I think a lot of people think that
that's
so the government healthcare.
Super socialistic. Way.
It's shit like that I'm worried about, because they're like, well, we'll just go ahead and find the hospitals that aren't. The hospitals are going, dude, what do you want us to do here?
And that's but if you look at the English system, there are other options, and this is
what people think of, though. I think.
But this is what pisses me off. So it's like people are going, well, your health care is going to be rationed. Guess what? Our health care is rationed now for the third or fourth time. Our HMO has basically said, your daughter can't take this medicine anymore. We want you to take this after that medicine she's taken for her asthma doesn't work. And every single time we have to make a case to override what our doctor and what her care team has said. I wasn't allowed getting an MRI on my back because I didn't meet certain criteria to get an MRI on my back, even though my back was numb and I was having excruciating pain. I had to come back with more symptoms. They're rationing our health care any way you look at it. And they're rationing it not because of bureaucracy and because they're idiots, or because they're doing it because of greed. They're doing it because it helps them make more money. Now, given The HMOs do get a bad rap. I worked for an HMO. The reason why HMO, what they do, they need to make a profit, right? They're beholden to their shareholders. They're not beholden to doctors. They're not beholden to our government. They're not beholden to their patients. They're beholden to their shareholders. And so they need to keep a certain profit margin. Every time our pharmaceutical companies, device manufacturers, hospitals, they raise their prices, well, guess what? HMOs now have to squeeze to get their profit margins that their investors demand. That's our problem with our system, is that it's a supply chain that basically the shit rolls all the way down to the Americans. Is easily fixed if our government is allowed stepping in and playing referee, not managing it, negotiating, going, fuck that noise. The whole idea of like, well, Americans pay for the innovation. Most of the companies doing all the innovation, they're European pharmaceutical companies. They're not even American companies. They're European companies that are gouging Americans when they're charging everyone else cheap. Everybody is screwing the Americans over because our system allows it. So all we have to do is sit there. That's the whole point. And so when they keep going, literally, I talked with someone online. The English system that I'd explained, they are under the understanding that that's what it was like pre-Obama, and that's what it's going to go back to.
Do you picture like the European people when they screw over the America? They're sitting around going, "Stupid Americans! We charge what we want to."
Yeah. So like that's just where I guess I get upset at this, because this is not even an argument. He hasn't done anything. His thing is to go back to what it was.
Speechless because he's clumping Democrats all into one thing. Like they all want this.
No, I don't want
to see them all.
Plan, and it's only like what, 2 out of all of them that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then he's done nothing.
He's done nothing. In his plan, let's go back to the way that it was, to where like someone goes, well, my insurance is going to be cheap. It's going to be cheaper because the only reason your lower amount is cheaper is because, or more expensive, is because they actually gave you coverage like mental health care, and they cover more pre-existing conditions. What Trump wants to go back to is they can not give you insurance because of pre-existing conditions. They can make it to where you have no mental health coverage. All you have is I have to go to the emergency room. That's it. So that's just the whole thing, is that shit like this is reckless because it's a total falsehood, and it's advocating going back to the same system we have now, where they're rationing our healthcare due to profits. And that's where it's messed up. There's other solutions. He's not offered a single solution. He couldn't get his own party to go back against Obamacare. And if you really want to get honest, when you look at all the negative things they thought Obamacare was going to do, it didn't do any of them. And is there one peep out of all the people that were talking about how awful it was? I think the worst thing about Obamacare, it only helped poor people. It didn't do anything for the rest of us. And that's my beef with Obamacare. Make an argument about that. Make an argument about how we're middle-class people working our asses off. We pay the most for healthcare, have the worst healthcare for the money that we're paying, and nobody's doing a single fucking thing. If anything...
That's like I said, the middle class is disappearing. Yeah. What happens when it goes away? What's going to happen then?
Exactly. So
it's fucking... All the insurance companies who make bazillion dollars.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
dictate every single thing your doctor recommends, what you need. There's limits on everything. They want to give you what they want, regardless of what your specialist or whoever wants you to have.
It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I'm gonna do one more. All right. Okay. I had another economy one, but all right, we're already getting a little long in the tooth on the show. All right. So, all right. All right. Let's do the environment. Okay. So, oh god, this is gonna be hilarious. So, President Trump's. All right. So let's just go back to the beginning here. Okay. So everyone. So Trump is basically saying that that it's all fake news, that him being rough on the environment. Okay. So it goes, holidays are rough, especially when Democrats and liberal members of your family try to tell you fake news media spun lies about President Trump and his accomplishments. People may incorrectly tell you that Trump is doing nothing to help our environment, but the facts tell a different story. President Trump continues to advance realistic solutions to reduce emissions while promoting economic growth. America's environmental record is one of the strongest in the world, and the U.S. has also been a world leader in reducing carbon emissions for over a decade. We have the cleanest air on record and remain a global leader for access to clean drinking water. President Trump has taken important steps to restore, preserve, and protect our land, air, and waters. Meanwhile, China will remain the chief emitter of CO2, emitting more than the U.S. and EU combined. President Trump has paved the way for more energy infrastructure development, ensuring American energy can be delivered. President Trump approved the Dakota Access Pipeline, a Keystone. Actually, Keystone was Obama. And the new Burgos Pipeline. America is now the world's largest oil producer, and in 2017, the United States became a net neutral gas exporter for the first time in 60 years. Crude oil exports nearly doubled in 2018, reaching the record average of 2 million barrels a day.
All right.
So, I'll go last on this one because I'm just going to go last. Bill, do you believe this, or what's your thoughts on Trump actually being getting a bum rap for his environmental record?
I don't know if it's a bum rap. I do think that any Republican and anything Trump says, he's going to be casted. No, you're wrong. You're bad. You're terrible. You're evil. You're Satan by some on the left. So it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter what the facts are or what the facts are not.
Yeah.
Subsequently, the same can be said for Trump. It doesn't matter what the facts are. He's going to have his own opinion.
Yeah.
So that leaves us, the rational people, to kind of try to chew over this and decipher what is real and what is not. Well, as a lot of things are, there's two sides to every story. It's you talk about we're now the net, the leader of the world of oil?
Yeah, thanks to oil shale production, which was actually under Obama.
Well, right, but I'm just
saying, it was under Obama.
It's been continued and expanded. I'm
under
sure
Obama,
under Trump though too.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time, to have a president who does not believe at all, apparently, of global warming. I mean, guys, I don't know why this is a political issue. I mean, I don't care who caused it. I don't know if it's a cyclical thing. What are we going to do?
60-degree day in Columbus for Christmas.
And I don't know that if it's the big emergency as you're saying.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't think it's a non-issue. I think it's somewhere like you need to do something about it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say with that, I would say that Trump needs to improve his environmental. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I do like the fact that we are not as dependent on foreign oil. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. If a war breaks out tomorrow, even though we're the world's leading exporter of oil or whatever, we're doing 200 barrels a day, our price somehow is still going to go up. Figure that one out, folks. I would love it.
Because remember, oil, it doesn't matter where it's produced. It's always sold on the foreign market, which means we'll pay. It doesn't matter if it came from Saudi Arabia, United States. We all pay the same amount, and it all gets sold on the open market.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the answer is there. I think Trump is not as bad as some want to say, but he's definitely not as good as he thinks he is. I think it's somewhere in between on the environment, and I think he's still got, if he wins the election, he's got time to change his tune. I think maybe when he wins re-election, he's going to hopefully soften up a little bit. The second-term president has more leeway. On the other hand, it's Trump, who is a big egomaniac, who will never admit to doing anything
wrong.
He'll
be fresh off a victory on an impeachment.
He's a two-time presidential winner.
And beat impeachment.
And he'll let you know. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Jill, what do you think?
I mean, I agree. And I love how then it says, President Trump's policies and success are proof that you can have both a strong economy and a clean environment at the same time.
Clean? I mean, you jump into that
where has he proven that our environment's clean?
So
I don't see that here.
So let's talk about Trump. Let's talk about Trump's environmental record. So the clean water that he talked about, he actually rolled back the EPA Clean Water Act. Which the very act that kept our waterways clean after like the 70s, and it got awful. The same reason that Lake Erie caught on fire. He rolled back the Clean Water Act. He has allowed the EPA to cut out scientific research, to bypass the EPA scientists, to where he calls it streamlining the EPA process. Scientists can no longer weigh in are not required now to weigh in on any scientific matter that happens. Here's how it played out already. So we're like Alaska, one of the biggest industries is fishing, salmon fishery, right? So
love salmon.
So when he was traveling to Russia, the Alaskan governor, who was really struggling in his polls and needed support of his miners. So Obama laid out a rule in these areas where they're not Superfund sites. That means you can't go into it, but it was basically you cannot do shit on it. You can't get it approved. You are not allowed doing anything in these areas, right? Protected wildlife areas, right? In one area in particular, it's like there's supposed to be this giant gold mine of mining, copper, heavy minerals, whatever, right? And so, but the thing is, though, the water that they want to use it feeds into these all these protected salmon fisheries. So Obama, after he passed this law saying the scientists can't weigh in on it anymore and he can unilaterally just pass bills, he had a meeting on his plane in Air Force One for like 30 minutes where the Alaskan governor talked to him in literally 10...
Trump, not Obama.
Sorry, Trump. 10 minutes later, they announced that they actually are opening up that wildlife refuge for mining, and that the salmon fishery will no longer exist because they're going to cut off all the water. And when you do mining, it washes off a lot of benzene, mercury, heavy chemicals, and so it's already playing out to where he's pulled all that out. He even in West Virginia, we had that giant coal mine, the coal ash. Whenever they have coal-fired burning power plants, it creates a slurry. They keep it in retention ponds. One of the retention ponds busted free a couple years ago. I mean, literally, there is mercury and benzene and all kinds of dioxins that are going to be in the riverbed, the water, for 100 years. He now loosened it up where coal mines can actually have more laxed requirements now to store those things.
Well, that's good.
He wants to roll back. He wants to have more coal-fired power plants. He actually went so far to give tax incentives to power plants to convert back over to coal, only to be rebuked by the power plants going, it would cost us more money to convert back over to it. Trump literally this week he's been hitting home runs with the environment lately, so I'm proud of his record. He literally in his speech the other day started talking about how bad windmills were. And how windmills are bad for the environment. I don't
understand how wind
somehow they cause.
That's what he said.
Literally.
I was
I don't understand how it
earlier
works.
when we were talking about the quotes. I don't understand how wind works or something.
He literally said it kills birds, and it causes cancer. Windmills. And then it's like, so you're connecting some random loose conspiratorial thing of how they can kill some birds when it's like, how many fucking birds and people and lung diseases does like coal-fired power plants cause?
Well, we have the swine flu, and there's also the bird flu. Okay, now we didn't kill all the pigs, but maybe we should kill the birds. And then guess what?
He was talking about that it's bad to kill birds, apparently.
Talk on how they cause cancer.
I have no idea. It doesn't. It makes no sense. Now, here's the best.
Blows through the air.
Here's the best. So, if that was not enough, man, sometimes I love Trump because he almost tees up my show beautifully, right? Today, you know what Trump is advocating for? More asbestos. He wants to roll back asbestos, saying that it actually worked really good. He's on quote in multiple of his books saying that he doesn't think the World Trade Centers would have fallen if they would have had more asbestos. And now if you to take a wild guess, all right, what country is the number one manufacturer still after F-60 of all the major nations have banned it? Who is the number one manufacturer?
Zamunda.
Oh God, who is it? Starts with an R, and it kind of sounds like Usha.
Russia.
Yeah, kind of funny that he's. Literally, windmills are somehow bad, but asbestos in coal and clean water restrictions is bad. So this is one of the only one. Well, this and the healthcare were the only ones where it was outright fabrications, outright lying, outright. Hopefully, no one actually reads this. And this is when the environment was comical. So. No, that's not even right. And the thing is, we didn't even get to all of them. I mean, I'm not going to get every one of them because it was a long show. But those are the ones that were the worst. Now, everything with the economy is like, it's kind of like 80% yes, 20%, well, at an angle, but you should have given other people credit. So the environment ones I agree a lot on, maybe 20% of variance, right? But these last ones are where it's like, come on, man. Like, you don't have, it's like, why even put this in here? I mean, isn't that like taking, like, you're almost treating like your supporters like they're morons? Like,
yes.
That to me is like egregious. Like, to say this when he has been like the worst with the environment.
He's the worst.
I think he literally is probably the worst president for the environment that I think we've ever seen. He literally hired a lawyer that fought against the EPA that worked. That was his head of his EPA that got fired.
God damn EPA! I tell you what, they're just a bunch of bullies.
Yeah,
And
you think like the hunters, he's big with hunters and fishermen. You think he would they would demand clean air and water. And I don't know about you, I love eating cod with like a quart of Quaker State in it.
During the energy crisis in the 70s, Jimmy Carter, the president, he installed solar panels on the White House.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And when Reagan came in,
took him down.
Reagan was like, fuck this, had him ripped out like the first day. Like,
yeah.
No, it's like, it's free power. Like, you don't have to do anything. It's already there. Like, not in my White House. That's awesome.
And that's where I think it's like, and I'm going to kind of close it up on this, where it's like, all right, like, I think Democrats got to give Trump credit for the economy. I think not giving Trump credit for the economy.
He didn't screw up the economy. I'll give him that. Like, you got to say that at least.
He made it better.
No, he's not screwed it up.
No, he's
people were predicting stocks are going to. I mean, everyone, all the experts, would.
Well, every time he says something crazy,
I know,
crazy.
but all the so-called experts who surprisingly did not support Donald Trump at the polls, but those were all the experts that made it on TV. Every one of them would tell you the economy's going to go down. There's no. You wait and see, blah blah blah, and it hasn't. It's gone up. I know. Again, the pay gap is not what we want it to be, but
we didn't get into like the tax break and the deficit. And those are the ones where I do think like I do fear, and we can always come back to this. And I think when we have our guest Eric on, we can kind of talk about that a little bit more. But I do feel as though some of his economic policies are very short-sighted because literally 10% of all of our GDP goes towards debt payments. To pay for itself, the tax cuts had to produce a 6.2% increase in revenue. It only created what do you think? So they said, and now all his people go, it will pay for itself. Okay, so like meaning that due to more revenue, due to the economy getting better, we'll have more revenue coming in. So they estimated for his tax cuts to work, they had to bring in a 6.7% increase in total revenue to the government. If you had to guess what actually it stands at right now, what would you say?
6.6.
What would you say?
I don't know. 6.2.
0.3.
0.3?
Not even 1%. 0.3% rise in GDP, which is the reason why our national debt is skyrocketed. So now here's another one. It was predicted that income would for a family, income would rise between $4,000 and $9,000 a year for a family due to all the extra money that companies be paying people. What do you think the reality was about what the dollar amount adds up to as we stand right now?
Down.
$28 per worker.
Righteous bucks.
Yeah. So it was supposed to be $4,000 and $9,000. They predicted the families would make more a year. It's right now it's $28.
$28 more per year.
So translation, everyone's doing better.
Yeah, and that's what I hear. All right, here's the number one reason why. So the tax, it costed our economy about $1.85 trillion for this tax cut. Okay, and the whole idea was that companies are going to reinvest this money in their people and innovation. You know what? $1 trillion of it went towards stock buyback for the upper 1% of executives. $1 trillion of that tax cut went towards them buying more of their company's stock to make it go up, to make them more money. And here's my best one, all right? The whole idea was that they were going to invest billions of dollars into their businesses. You know what actually happened? This year alone, planned business capital improvements have actually dropped.
Yep.
So it's like the economy is not doing well because of his tax cuts. The economy is doing well because of his principles, the deregulation. I think a lot of that has helped. His tax cut did not do a fucking thing, and all that it's done transferred a shit ton of wealth to the 1% that didn't even need it. It came at the expense of the middle class and the lower class, and all it did was make people richer, and it put us more in debt. To where literally 10% and growing of our total GDP that we make is going towards interest payments on his debt that he's creating. He's created more debt than Obama. So that's the thing where it talks about his tax cut. 90% of Americans saw their paychecks increase. But how much? Whatever the increase was, it didn't even match. So think about it. Inflation went up 1.7%. Income only rose 1.2%. So the increase didn't even keep up with inflation. I'm just saying, like, once again, there's angles to it.
I understand.
And we have to look at it from both sides. So this whole snowflake victory thing, you can argue it from different ways, but the reality is the data tells different stories depending on what you want to tell. The three that I cannot really find where it's a complete fabrication is his tax cuts, the environment, his environmental record, and his healthcare record. Those are the three that are total fabrications. The other ones are actually pretty damn accurate, and I can give him credit for the economy. I can give him credit for, I mean, I like his foreign policy so far. I don't agree with his bluster about foreign policy. I agree with it. I think he has basically stopped the UN and all these people from basically looking at us like a piggy bank. I disagree with the manner in which he's going about and doing it, once again, but I agree with being a little tougher. I do agree with kind of starting to close down some of these quagmires. We got to end at some point, as long as they're being closed with military guidance, not just because it looks good on paper. So I can give the guy credit, but I'm also going to call him out for complete fabrications, and that's not me. I can't. These are data. This is facts. All these facts and data. These are all Congressional Budget Office. These are all put out by our own government. So if you're going to deny these facts, my listeners, that means you're denying what our own government is putting out. And so, like, we can't sit there and go, well, the numbers that Trump touts by the government are accurate, but the ones that don't actually support it, they're wrong. We can't play that game. So it's a mixed bag. So I don't know. I mean, am I off base here? I mean, Bill, I mean,
no,
Jill, I mean.
You're right, man. I agree with you. You know, it is what it is, and there's shit's at angles, and, you know,
yeah.
I agree.
I mean, are my facts wrong? I mean, do you think I'm interpreting it bad? Am I painting a bad picture? Or would you say that this is a fair representation of the facts and the stats?
Don't look at me.
I mean, honestly, and I'm not going to be hurt if you think that I'm skewing the numbers in a certain way, but I mean, I'm just reporting what the data says.
Fake news.
You have heard that.
Can I, may I?
Oh, yeah, sure. Here you go, man.
Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I guess facts
That's
don't
it.
matter.
Doesn't matter.
Facts don't matter.
Some people doesn't matter.
That's facts world. That's where we're at.
It's true.
Happy New Year's, everybody.
It's on there because it doesn't matter.
That's a sad thing. But the thing is, like, and this is where I'll close the show out with this, is that, here we are, it's New Year, and I like closing off on something like this because I wanted to kind of, like, for entertainment. Of course, I'm gonna bust Trump's balls, but, like, I gave the guy credit. I don't like him, but I was able to give him credit because that's what the data said. And so if somebody who openly does not like the guy can easily acknowledge all the positive things he did that was validated by the data, we have to be able to do the same on the other side. And if we really care about this country, if we really want to make America great again, we actually have to understand really what the score and what the state of our own union is. If our doctor told us that, dude, no, you don't need to lose weight, you're good, but yet we're 400 pounds overweight, oh no, you don't need to quit smoking, your blood pressure's fine, we wouldn't even know.
Here's a complimentary pack on your way out.
I mean, seriously, it'd be reckless, right? It would be malpractice. I mean, you wouldn't even know what to do because you're getting false information. They're telling you what you want to hear. And so we have our politicians and media people telling people not what they need to hear, but what they want to hear that's going to get them to vote, to get them to watch. And it's reckless. It's malpractice. And it is the opposite of being a patriot. It's opposite of making America great again. To make America great again, you have to know what the fuck the true state of what America is. It's not as bad at all as what the Democrats say. Trump is not as bad as a president as the Democrats want to say. He's just not.
Wow.
I hate him as a human being. As a human being. I think he has done.
On a personal level, I hate you.
On a personal level, I think he's a bad human being, and I radically disagree with the modalities. But I cannot argue with the economy being better. I cannot argue with, I do agree with a lot of his foreign policy things. I do agree with, we didn't even get to immigration, but I do agree with the fact we got to do something about immigration. Like, it just can't be, like, when I hear people talking about how, like in California, they've been giving, what was it, $100 and some odd dollars they've been giving people, like, for, like, if you're a son of an illegal immigrant, like, why can't I get that for my health care?
You can't.
So it's
you
like.
do everything by the book, so you get screwed.
I know. So it's just one of those things, guys, where it's like, it's never as bad as any one size says it is, but the facts kind of say something different. So yeah, New Year, let's turn the page. Let's actually celebrate. I know, celebrate data, celebrate science, and yeah, I think that's the best. Science, I know. So on that note, I'm going to thank my lovely, awesome, beautiful wife for hanging out with us today. It's kind of nice to have her down here. It's better than looking at your ugly ass, you know.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank the listeners, because, hey, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be doing this shit anymore. So I want to thank you guys for listening and, you know, get involved and, you know, get into the debate. I love it, you know. Bill, my man, armchair.
I'll be back next week with no stats or facts at all to
Nothing.
back up what I
Just
say.
opinion.
Just kind of just...
No stats.
Oh.
Hey, no one got time for that.
I know.
Right? What? What did she say over there?
I didn't hear nothing.
Cut her mic off.
I see nothing.
Done.
I hear
That's
nothing.
it.
I hear nothing.
This interview's over.
Well, everyone, you guys have an awesome New Year's. Glad we can celebrate with you guys. And as always, next time someone asks you, hey, man, you Democrat, you Republican, you red, you blue, just say, oh, fuck that noise.